Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a horror film. Nobody sleeps in the woods tonight. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with the postman delivering mail in a blue house stationed in the woods. Inside the blue house, the mother washes clothes from blood in a basin. The place looks old and neglected, and the postman hears groaning in the cellar. The postman checks the noise, so he rips off the boards barring the basement entrance. He wants to help out whoever is making the noise, when suddenly the one causing the noise drags down the postman into the darkness and blood splatters. 30 years later, a bus travels to a no-phone Camp Adrenaline in the woods. The bus arrives, and the coordinator administers the passengers, teenagers obsessed with technologies and gadgets. Afterward, the teenagers gather on the side of the road as one of the camp counselors arrives with her black Jeep. When everyone's in place, the camp manager introduces the camp to learn new skills and survive the outside without relying on technology. Afterward, the counselor brings out a pouch containing numbers for the campers to group themselves into. That night, campers associate themselves with camp activities. Some campers huddle around the bonfire, some queue in line for barbecues, and some eat under the tent. Meanwhile, Zojia isolates herself from the group, fidgeting with a miniature toy soldier. On the other hand, inside the blue house in the woods is the mother, who's trying to pull a dead sheep into the trapdoor. But the sheep is too heavy, causing her to fall into the trapdoor along with the sheep. Just then, a gigantic mutated hand appears to grab the keys, fallen off from the mother. The mother wakes up momentarily after the fall and sees something in the dark. But the mutant kills her in an instant, causing blood to splash on the stairs. The following day, in Camp Adrenaline, campers prepare their backpacks for a 3-day hike in the woods. There's Zojia covering the slash scars on her wrist with a handkerchief. Just then, the priest arrives to bless the phones and pray for the campers' safety. Afterward, the counselor introduces herself to Zojia, the gamer, the blondie, Bardic, and Daniel as the group leader. After that, the group ventures to the forest, and the gamer initiates a conversation with Zojia by bringing up her miniature soldier necklace, saying it resembles Terminator. On the way, Daniel stares at the blondie's rack, which causes Bardic to teasingly flirt with Daniel until he snaps and pushes Bardic to the ground. The fall scratches Bardic's knee, and the counselor immediately cleans the wound. Zojia brings out her pocket knife to tear the bandaging gauze and ties it to secure the wrap on the wound. Before they leave, the gamer asks permission to relieve his bladder. So, while he is doing his business, an eviscerated deer shows up beside him. He immediately calls the rest of the group to see the deer decomposing after his findings. The counselor pokes the poor deer, believing that a colossal beast must have killed it. According to statistics, the gamer informs everyone that, according to statistics, 75% of the missing people vanished in the forests. Meanwhile, Zojia sees a creepy hand sliding into disappearance from a far-off end tree. Eventually, the group settles their camp, and everyone knows how to build their tents but the blondie. So Daniel assists her. The blondie leaves the building to Daniel and bathes her dirty body in the nearby lake. The rest of the group is Zojia opening her canned food, Bardic blowing his inflatable bed, and the counselor assembling the bonfire. Later that night, everyone crowds around the fire. Then the counselor requests everyone to share their reason for joining Camp Adrenaline. First, the gamer is a famous streamer and gamer who competes abroad until his parents had enough of his gaming, so they sent him off to the camp. Next, the counselor reads Zojia's background on the papers, but she goes silent and decides to skip her in the meantime. Everyone goes quiet when they hear a rustling sound in the bush, so the counselor approaches the bush to check it out, and it turns out it's only a wild fox. Later at midnight, Daniel leaves his tent and idles in the nearby lake. He smokes until the blondie sits beside him. They firstly chat, then flirt their hormones with one another. The romantic tension leads the blondie to take Daniel's virginity. After their steamy encounter, the blondie returns to her tent, while Daniel snuggles and uses his hidden phone inside his sleeping mat. Unfortunately, a giant mutant, whose ugly muscles are stuck inside a jumper, spots Daniel in the lake. So it traps Daniel in his sleeping mat, drags him on the ground, and vigorously slams him onto a tree trunk until his bones crack. Meanwhile, after dreaming about the incident where she lost her family in a car crash, Zojia wakes up to the sound of the counselor calling everyone. It's morning, and everyone realizes that Daniel didn't return to his tent yet. So the counselor asks the group who last saw Daniel last night. The blondie speaks up and shows their location in the lake, where the counselor finds a cigarette butt and a used smelly condom. But the blondie denies it's from her. On the other hand, Zojia scans the field and discovers the tree where the giant mutant killed Daniel. After seeing the blood on the trunk, she calls everyone, and the counselor smells it, believing it's from an animal. The gamer suggests returning to Camp Adrenaline, but the counselor tells him not to panic. The group then returns to their campsite, where they decide to split up. But the gamer opposes it, warning everyone about the rules of horror, where splitting up in the mysterious forest is a bad idea. The best way to solve the problem is to call the police. However, the counselor ignores this since they have no phone to call for help. The Blondie and Bardic stay behind in the campsite if Daniel ever returns, while the gamer joins Zosha and the counselor to search for Daniel in the woods. En route, the gamer elaborates further on the rules of horror, the 6 deadly sins: curiosity, disbelief, confidence, unattractive people never surviving, sexual practice, and group splitting up. Eventually, the 3 stumble upon the empty blue house, where they inspect the inside to ask for help. Soon after, the group arrive in a cabin. Hanging on the wall is a photograph of twins, 2 boys wearing jumpers with shaved heads. Then they open the trapdoor on the floor, and the repulsive smell of corpses drifts in the air. The counselor descends first, followed by Zosha, and to their shock, below the cellar, they find Daniel's dismembered and bloodied corpse. Right then, the gamer, who stays behind upstairs, warns the 2 women that someone's coming. So they hide in the basement and close the trapdoor. While the 3 of them watch as heavy footsteps tread toward the trapdoor, the gamer resists the urge to vomit due to the corpse smell. The trapdoor opens, and the counselor quickly breaks open the barred woods on the cellar window. Zosha goes out first, followed by the gamer. However, the counselor chooses to stay behind upon hearing Daniel's phone ring in his pocket. Unfortunately, the giant mutant already reaches the basement, and the counselor braves up by facing the mutant's ugly muscles alone. But she ends up dead very soon. Her decapitated head flies into the feet of Zosha and the gamer. In horror, the 2 campers escape from the house, and they rest midway in the forest. The gamer panics, reminding Zosha that they should have listened to him. Eventually, they find refuge in the hunter's tiny house in the woods. At first, they initially ask for a phone to call the police, but the hunter tells them he has no telephone. Instead, he shares the history of the twins, which surprise Zosha that there are 2 killers. There used to be a single mother living in the blue house with 2 boys and a dog. The twins played one afternoon until a meteor shower from the sky. It happened that a small meteorite landed near their blue house. The twins found it and hid a portion of the meteorite under their bed. At night, a black gooey fluid oozed from the rock, traveled, and infiltrated the twins' bodies, which turned them into carnivorous, mutated, and deformed beings. The mother woke up in horror upon seeing her sons eating their dog in the basement. So she locked and fed them with animals until they grew up, which eventually caused the mother to lose her sanity. After a bit of flashback from the hunter, Zosha suggests getting help. But the hunter and the gamer want to stay in the house first. However, Zosha believes it's time to act. So she and the gamer decide to return to the blue house, trying to retrieve Daniel's phone. Meanwhile, the Blondie and Bardic are simply opening up their hearts to one another, sitting on the edge of the cliff, until the second mutant twin, who's wearing a plague shirt, skewers the Blondie's head in a branch. In shock, Bardic backs off and dashes deep into the forest, glancing behind him to see if the second twin follows. After a long run, he ends up in the church, where the priest from the earlier morning is staying. The priest listens to Bartek's story about the killings, and then offers to call for help with his cell phone and landline. But he lies, saying there's no reception. Suddenly, the telephone rings, and Bardic realizes what's happening, but it's too late. The priest strikes Bardic on the head with a candelabra and gags him up while tied on a chair. Bardic wakes up from unconsciousness and finds the priest staring at him with a mocking smile on his face. It turns out the priest confesses how he hates Bardic for being gay. Outside, the priest hears the wood chipper revive on its own, so he leaves Bardic alone. The priest checks the surroundings, and behind him is the second twin. It lifts the priest off the ground, digs his massive thumbs into the priest's eyes, and blood drips down his cheeks. Next, the second twin feeds the priest's body into the wood chipper with every left bit. Blood and ground innards spew out from the machine, flooding the greenery grass in red. Meanwhile, Bardic inside the church finally frees himself from the bound made by the priest, and he sees the second twin through the window walking towards the church. So he hides behind the confession box, but the second twin still spots him. On the other side, Zosha and the gamer return to the blue house. The 2 campers decide that the gamer will act as a distraction, while Zosha will take the phone away. But before the gamer leaves, Zosha gives her a pocket knife and kisses his cheek. The first twin, being the giant mutant we saw earlier, hears the gamer's shot from outside and chooses to check it out. Zosha immediately enters the basement when it leaves. She successfully retrieves the phone, but it is still below the stairs when she turns her head. The first twin approaches Zosha and lifts her in the air. It's about to kill her when the gamer suddenly appears from behind and impales the pocket knife into its side. The first twin tosses away Zoja and faces the gamer. It draws close to the gamer's face, bites his tongue, and rips it off his face without pain. While unconscious, Zoja dreams about waking up after the incident. She lay on the greenery fields, her head bloody from the impact and her body covered in black suits. She watched from afar their burning car. Her father crawled out of the crash site but ended up dead. On the ground was the miniature toy soldier that survived the fire. A while later, Zoja wakes up chained in the basement. Beside her is the gamer, holding onto his little energy left. Wanting to escape together, Zoja uses Daniel's dismembered hand to scan his fingerprints onto the phone. She's about to call for help, but the phone dies from a low battery. Nowhere to go, Zoja comforts the gamer and even lets him hold her miniature toy soldier named Captain Walrus. The gamer requests Zoja to end his misery by pulling out the pocket knife, but Zoja can't do it. She cries as she holds the knife and twists it to complete the gamer's suffering. Meanwhile, the mutated twins are upstairs where the first twin cleans his side wound from the pocket knife, while the second twin goes outside with its axe. Eventually, Zoja gains the strength to escape. She successfully pries open the chain lock with a pocket knife. It's possible to run from the twins at that moment, but she bravely chooses to face the twins. She grabs the machete under the table in the basement and quietly ascends upstairs through the trapdoor. The first twin sleeps on the bed, and Zoja repeatedly stabs her machete onto its chest. On the other hand, with a shotgun on hand, the hunter patiently waits for one of the twins to enter his house. When the floor on his porch creaks, he shoots the door, but only to see Bardic gasping as blood chokes him to death. The movie ends with Zoja arriving at the main road, where she finds a police officer and his car parked on the street. She reports everything while crying and gasping for breath after her sprint. They are driving away from the forest, when suddenly the police officer runs over the second twin. Despite Zoja's continuous warnings, the police officer still goes out and checks it's dead. But when he turns around, the second twin stands and slices the police officer's body into two in an instant. In horror, Zoja breaks the backseat's window open and drives the police car. She wants to escape, but bravery manifests onto her. So she manages to kill the second twin by running over it numerous times until it turns to be dead meat. Afterward, she leaves the forest and into safety. Meanwhile, police cars surround the blue house. But unfortunately, the first mutant twin survives Zoja's stabs. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.